Hey, so here it is. Underhurst, unscripted, Angel Savoy, off the cuff. Hey, hey, hey. It is Angel M. Savoy. Here we are for another Off the Cuff with Angel. It has been a minute. Didn't I tell y'all this was going to be inconsistent? I'm so sorry if you had your calendar set for every week or every 2 weeks when I just do random stuff because this is just literally who I am. So it's 9:04 p.m. on a Tuesday, and I was like, you know what? Let me hop on and talk because it's just what I do. It's been a lot going on. I'm excited to catch y'all up. The last episode was about garlic powder and onion powder. And yes, all of y'all are ridiculous that believe that it goes on everything. That is my story still, and I'm sticking to it. So it's been 2 months since my last confession. Let me quit clowning. Yeah, so it's been about 2 months, and a lot has happened in the past couple of months. I don't know. I don't. There's some people that know me, some people that don't. So for any brand new listeners or people that were not familiar with things that I did, I am an actual certified professional coach. Um, I deal with people that need healing and taking accountability and things of that nature, because a lot of times in order to heal we do have to take accountability for the fact that we're wounded or that we even played a part in it, but also even on the spiritual side, because I don't think a lot of people understand that forgiveness has a lot to do with healing. The two go together. So that is something that I do. I'm also a person that books trips and retreats and just all this stuff. But a year and a half ago, I completely stopped moving. I got some devastating news, and it literally knocked the wind out of me. And I mean that. And I completely stopped functioning. I didn't host any other retreats. I didn't plan any girls' trips. I didn't plan any no trips. I literally didn't do much of anything. I didn't care to pray. I didn't care to do anything. I wrote a lot. Thank the Lord for that. But I stopped moving. And so I'm very much so excited that I have an event coming up. It is my first event since June of 2022, and it's called Hats and Heels, and I'm so excited. Hats and Heels, the gathering. And it's nothing in particular. A lot of people associate me with healing and the healing houses and the retreats and stuff of that nature. So when I said I was just doing a gathering, everybody was just like, what is it about though? Like, what are we going to be doing? And I'm like, you're not going to be doing anything. You're going to come hang out, have a good time. It's just a way for me to get back in the swing of things, get back to what I do, what I love to do, and it's to be around people. I take any opportunity to minister about whatever, you know what I mean, whatever I need to minister about in that moment. And when I say minister, that does not always mean people just getting slayed and we finna cast out demons and stuff like that. Simply testifying, you know what I mean, or just talking to somebody about something that I've been through, finding God, because I was very far away from him at one point. So ministry is just simply that, making sure that you let people see the light in you, the God in you, and letting people know that they're not by themselves. There's a lot of people that are out here going through stuff, and they don't want to talk about it. They believe that they're alone and that people don't get it. And so ministry provides me an opportunity to tell somebody, hey man, I was jacked up too. I was out here in these streets rebelling and not praying and doing all kinds of crap, lying and cheating and just manipulating folks. It was a hot mess out here before I found the Lord. So I love to use opportunities to minister to people. So, but this event is different. It's just me coming back out, getting back into the swing of things, getting back into what I love to do. And I'm excited for this event. I have everything set in motion. We're going to be at Maggiano's on October the 14th, from 11:30 to 2:30, and it is sold out. I was very excited about that. Again, I haven't hosted anything in over a year. So it was very exciting to get back out there. Um, and to sell out the space that I had. So I'm excited. It's going to be a very intimate gathering. A gathering simply means a collection of bringing together of, um, and I'm excited. You know, there's too many women that say I can't go anywhere with women. I can't do things with women. I can't be in the room with women. And I'm going to be honest with you guys and tell you that's a problem. And that usually stems from a mother wound somewhere, the way that you see women and why you think you can't interact with them. And we want to get that rectified too, because women aren't bad. Our upbringings, our walks of life definitely play a part in how we see women, how we see men, relationships as a whole. So I definitely want to kill that idea that women can't be in the same space and just have a good time. So I'm very much so excited um to host the gathering. So I'm certain that it's been a lot of speculation, probably based on what I've posted on social media over the past year or year and a half, and even the fact that I just said that I haven't did anything in over a year and a half, and that I just stopped moving because I got the wind knocked out of me. And I haven't spoke about it yet. And we talk about so often how I am very transparent. I don't hide anything. I'm not embarrassed about anything, and it's definitely not that. I just feel like this time around, there's a different approach that has to be taken here. And I believe in due time, you'll be hearing more from my husband. I am married to a wonderful man. He is, it was not supposed to be like this. When Jonathan and I met, he was, actually, when we met, he was 15 years old, and I was 20 and married to my first husband at the time. And his brother, one of his older brothers, he's the baby of 12, was married to a good friend of mine. So I would see him when I would see them. A couple of their children are my godchildren, and that's his, blood niece and nephew. So, if I would ever hang out at my friend's house, I would see him. But of course, come on, let's be serious. 15 and 20, I promise you, I barely blinked when they was like, "Oh, that's Andrew's brother, honey." I was like, "Oh, okay, hey," and I like walked off. He's 15 years old for Pete's sake, so I wasn't even thinking about him on that level. But this was a family friend, so I was very close to this family. So, honey, my husband's name is Jonathan. We call him Honey. Everybody calls him Honey. But he was around. You know what I mean? He was very close to his brother, and I was very close to my best friend. So usually, if I saw them, I saw him. And over time, things shifted. I didn't pay attention to him throughout the years. Again, I was married. He was in high school, and whatever. But I saw him throughout the years. Never paid him any mind. And one year they again, I was a family friend, so one year they were doing his graduation party. So of course my friend called me and was like, "Hey, we're doing something for Honey at the house, so we need your help. Come help us set up. He's graduating high school, yada yada yada." And I'm like, "Sure, okay." And so leading up to that, I would be over there doing things at night, and then he would always just be laying on the couch. And they had this thing where they would be like, "Call me when you make it home. Call me when you make it home." It used to drive me bananas, but I would just be like, "Okay." And one day he's laying on the couch, and Nicole was like, "Hey, call me when you make it home." And I was like, "All right." And so I'm walking out the front door, and he's laying on the couch, and I said, "You want me to call you when I make it home too?" And I'll never forget how he turned and looked at me like, "Who are you talking to?" Like, what just happened? And he just was like, "If you want to." And I was like, "Okay." And so it began. It was not meant to be anything special. At that time, I was 24 years old. He was 19. My little brother was 22 and he was just an idiot to me. I'm sorry, Morris, if you're listening. I'm speaking about when you were younger, not the grown man and father and husband that you are. But he was an idiot when he was a child. So I had always told myself I would never date anybody younger than me. And then my sister is 5 years older than me, and she treated me like an absolute child. She would not have conversations with me. She just would not let me in her space. So I had this rule that I would not date anybody 2 years, anybody younger than me, period. They just couldn't be younger than me, not even a day. And I wouldn't date anybody older than me because I didn't like the way that I felt. So I used to always date men my age. So the idea of dating somebody younger than me like grossed me out, especially being younger than my younger brother, who again I thought was a complete idiot at the time. So I didn't think anything would come of it. Honestly, I was just coming off of Nick and I at that time were separated. Um, for a bit of time. We were young, we couldn't afford no divorce and all that stuff. We didn't live together for a while. I had a psycho stalker at the time as well that was making my life miserable. Lord, I hope he don't know nothing about this podcast. Jesus Christ. But my life was weird. I'm legally married. I got a psycho stalker, and I'm flirting with this kid basically at the time. And yeah, I had no general direction. I just was in a space of having fun. I had been with my first husband since I was 17. We split when I was 23. Um, we had a daughter when in 99 of that in that time period. So it was, I was just kind of in a free space of just doing what I wanted to do. But I was very much so intrigued by him. And he was just quiet. It was something peaceful about him. And I grew up in a world of chaos. I grew up seeing physical abuse, emotional abuse, mental abuse. It was a very weird dynamic. So to see somebody so quiet and just, put together, I don't know. I was very much so intrigued. I was intrigued by him. And so, I just began to flirt with him, and I'm gonna be honest, because hey, this is off the cuff. I wanted it to be like a booty call thing. I didn't expect it to go far at all. I expected him to be okay with it. I was just like, you know what, he's too young. I'm just gonna kind of keep him around and call him when I want to, and let that be that. And I remember talking to him about it and just was telling him, I'm not looking for anything of that nature. And his response blew me away. And he was just like, well, I'm not that guy. Like, I'm the relationship type. I'm not that. I don't do that. I'm not that dude. And I remember thinking, what kind of game is he playing? What are you talking about? You're not that. Every dude is that dude. And he was just like, no, seriously, I'm like a relationship type dude. I don't just sleep around with people and stuff like that. And I was just very much so intrigued by that. So needless to say, we did begin a relationship, and we moved very, very quickly. Within 6 months, we were engaged, and within 7 months after the engagement, we were married. So that all took place 19 years ago. And we never looked back. Jonathan and I have never been separated. Um, we've never did the whole "you sleep on the couch" thing, or you got to get out of here. We just never did that. And we have been through some silly things, but we never did that. It was something about us. That was very unique. So, in the beginning, God had his hand on this relationship way before I even knew who God was or gave him any honor or credit or anything. His hand had always been on this because it was such a draw to him. Once we were together, it was something that I could not turn off. It was something that I had never experienced before. And we did some ridiculous things in this marriage. But like I say, at some point, I definitely want to be able to bring Jonathan in the fold and let him hop on here with me, so that we can talk about some of this stuff, as a couple. You know what I mean? Angel definitely is Angel in her own right, and in her and the strength that the Lord has given her. And Jonathan is very much so his own man, and he has to walk in the humility and the calling that God has given him and whatnot. So we are definitely very unique individuals, but we are something extremely powerful when we are together. Um, in my Father in heaven, of course, not in our own strength by any means, but we have a different dynamic to bring together. I think in this space, a lot of things is about relationships, and um, this relationship has a lot to offer. You know what I mean? It's not a relationship as the typical people see it in the world as, oh, boy meets girl, y'all live it together forever, y'all gonna do all this stuff, and then you just don't make a commitment. It's baby mamas and baby drama and this drama and breakups and makeups and da 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 da. And hey, I'm not judging anybody. I'm just simply saying it's a different dynamic, that I would love to be able to dive deeper into and begin to tap into with this audience, and just bring my husband into it, so that we can just really, move in the direction that I know that the Lord is leading me to go. So by all means, if you think I'm not talking about something, apparently y'all don't know me, because I wrote a couple of books, to where I let it all hang out. I don't hide anything. I am a girl that has made many, many mistakes, from infidelity, from um abortion back in the day. Once upon a time, I used to steal, I used to lie, I used to manipulate, I rebelled against Christ. I did a whole lot of stuff that I'm surely, surely, surely not proud of. However, in the midst of all of that, I found God, and I don't regret those things. I know a lot of people will say, if I could change this, if I can change that, I would do this different. I would like to believe that, but I I have to ask myself, if that's true, would I have found God? Would the road that I decided to take instead of this road, would I still have found God? And I'm gonna be honest and say I don't think so. So this life has led me to find Christ. It has led Angel to tap into her identity, um, to heal from childhood, to come to terms with things, to be transparent, to be open as I am. That road led to all of that, and I don't regret any of it. Um, do I hate the way that I felt at times? Absolutely. Do I hate the way that I made people feel at times? Absolutely. But would I change it? I'm gonna be honest and tell you I would not. I would keep everything just the way it was, even the hurtful moments, because again, in that I discovered so much more about myself, and I discovered God. And that's the thing. I don't know if I've ever told this story on this podcast, but I'm going to tell it. And I try to keep this about 30 minutes, so I got 12. I'm going to shoot for it. So I used to pray a lot. I was in this phase of praying, praying, praying. And let me be clear, I still pray, but I'm telling you something for the purpose of where I'm going with this story. I used to be a person that prayed and, always constantly asked God, God, do you even hear me? Do you like me? Do you care about anything I'm saying? Do you watch what's going on down here on earth with me? And I remember standing in my shower one day, and I'm praying, and I hear myself, and I hear how shallow my prayer sounded. I realized at that moment my prayers wasn't going higher than a shower head. They were not going anywhere. It was crazy to hear that I was praying to this big, powerful God that I've heard all these wonderful things about. And yet, I didn't even really believe that he cared about me. I didn't believe that he cared about anything that was going on about me. I didn't think he showed up for me. And so as I'm showering and I hear myself praying, I stop because I realized that it was fake. It wasn't even real. I was just kind of talking, because prayer, you're supposed to communicate with God. You're supposed to love this God that loves you. And I stopped and I said, you know what? I don't trust you. I said, as a matter of fact, you've never showed up for me. And I remember thinking, I'm gonna die. I am about to die in the shower. My husband gonna come in here and just find my little dead body. I'm gonna collapse. There's no gonna be no signs of foul play. I'm just gonna croak over because I just told the one true living God, the God of the Bible, the Father of Jesus Christ, that I didn't trust him, that he has never showed up for me. And so you're speaking about a person that has never had a supernatural experience, that has never heard the voice of God at that point, has never, everything I've thought about church and whatnot. I mean, it was basic. I had never experienced anything. I've never seen angels. It was just nothing. So when I said that, I realized I did have a fear because I really thought I was going to die. And so as I'm standing in my shower, I see myself. I see myself walking down the street, and I didn't realize until much later that I was having what if you ever hear some believers say, an open vision. It's where you see something happening, that's not actually like happening in that moment. But I saw myself walking down the street, or a flashback, or I say a vision because this is old. This truly did happen, but he was giving me a perspective at this moment because I had just confessed something out loud to him. So I see myself in the 11th grade walking down the street. My mom used to work graveyard shifts. My father used to get up early in the morning, like 5 a.m. for work. So my boyfriend and I at the time, we lived about a mile and a half apart. So we would call each other, and I would say, hey, come meet me halfway. I'm leaving out now. And we would meet up at the same spot. And so what ended up happening was, we left. We did this a few times. And so that night, same scenario. So I'm walking. I tell him, okay, I'm coming by, hang up, sneak out the front door, leave out, walking down the street, nothing. I don't see him typically where I usually see him at. I don't see him. And so these men pulled up on me in a white van. Now I'm in the 11th grade. It's probably around 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. My mom is working graveyard shift, 11 to 7. She is not home. My sister at this time is not living in the house anymore. She's 21 years old. She's gone. And my little brother is out cold. My father, of course, is upstairs sleeping because he gets up for work like 4:35 a.m. So I've snuck out the house and not a creature knows that I'm gone. Um, and I walk out, and it's 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and now I am being pulled up on by these guys in this white van, and my boyfriend is not where he was supposed to be. Remember, I'm still in my shower. I had just confessed to God, I don't trust you, and you've never shown up for me. And these guys are asking me, do I want to ride? And I'm freaking out inside because I know that it's nowhere for me to go. I'm telling myself, well, Angel, you run track, you can run, you can do whatever. But let's be real. At 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, at the time I lived in, I didn't live in a project or whatever, but I lived in the north end of Beaumont. It was considered, the hood, Gulf Street, Glass House, Delaware. I lived off in that area. So, it's not just people walking around that time of night. It's the hood. If somebody hears screaming, okay, it's normal probably. So, I just was like, no, I don't need to ride. My boyfriend right there. He's coming around the corner, and the men just kept looking because Sean was nowhere to be found. And I'm just looking like, oh my God, where's this dude at? These guys gonna scoop me up, and I'm not gonna be able to do nothing about it. Like, help me. And so he said, well, you sure? And I'm like, no, I'm sure. And I kind of put my head down and I start walking faster. And I'm just in my head, I'm just saying to myself, where is he? Where is he? So I see In this vision still, I see this man look from side to side, and we've all done that look when we finna do something and we know we don't have no business. We do this little look. I saw this man look from side to side. It was two men, and that was that look. Like if we was to snatch her, who would know? Who would see? And I'm just walking and I'm waiting for Sean, and he never showed up. And so the men ended up driving off. What am I saying? So as I'm standing here praying to this God that I really don't know much about, but I know He's up there, somewhere in my heart. He lets me hear how shallow I sound. And as I make this confession that, God, I don't trust you. You never showed up for me. And He took me to that vision. And after I saw that, I remember just kind of being still for a second. I remember my eyes watering. And it's like I heard the Lord say, that was me. And I just remember in that moment, I just cried. I cried, I cried, I cried because I had no idea that He was with me until the moment that I made my confession, that I didn't believe that He cared about me, that He never showed up for me. And He took me back at this time. I want to say this was 3 years ago when this took place. So I would have been 40. So He took me back to 16. It took me back 24 years to tell me that was me. And I was just like, oh my God. And so later, I remember coming back and saying, God, why that vision? Why that? Why was that so significant? And He said, because if He would have showed up, you would have thought that He saved your life. So I had to do it that way. He was never coming. He was never coming. Can I tell y'all something? Sean never showed up that night. As a matter of fact, the next day when I got home, Sean mama was at my house snitching me out. And we both got in so much trouble. It was absolutely ridiculous. Um, because he left the door open or something. He did something idiotic that got him caught. But nevertheless, that's the way it was supposed to go. He was never supposed to leave that night. God did not allow him to leave because whether I knew it or not, at 16 years old, God was showing me that His hand was on me and that nobody was allowed to hurt, harm, or um kidnap me, rape me, any of that. And listen, I know that it's some people's story who God loves just as much. So don't get it twisted what I'm saying. I'm just simply saying that that was not Angel's story. And the way that God revealed Himself to me in that moment was Him simply telling me that that was me in that moment, that did not allow anybody to hurt you. You know what I mean? And so it was a huge revelation for me that sometimes things happen and we will give everything credit. Everything else, we'll say it's a coincidence. We'll say it wasn't meant to be. We'll say it's fate. We'll say this and that. But it was the confession that changed my life in the shower that day. And it was a part two to that, and I'll get into that another day. But that was the day that I understood that the truth shall set you free. And I told the truth that day, a truth that I tried to hide from God, a truth that I was very afraid of. I didn't know what it would be like to say that to God. But even in that, He let me know that I didn't know Him very well. He was like, "You really thought I would kill you for being honest? That's not even who I am. I just had no idea of his grace and mercy. I didn't have a clue. Who I was talking to, who my Father in heaven was. And that day was an introduction to who the angel is today. And it's been much more of a journey. And as I continue to get into these things, I'm not trying to convert anybody. Your belief will be yours. Your pain, your childhood, your upbringing, what your grandmother and them did, all of these things play a part. You're gonna follow what you choose to follow. But make no mistake, I am never not gonna, and I know that's a double negative, I will never not gonna talk about God and what he did for me, because I am 100% grateful. So believe me when I say I don't hide, but I believe it is time for my husband to come out, and he has so much to say. When the Lord begins to just really unction him and deal with him, and he is very much so a part of a lot of my testimonies. And I just can't wait for that. So I'm not teasing you guys with anything, but when the time is right, we're gonna sit down and he is gonna hop on this off the cuff with Angel. You understand me? And we're gonna talk about this. We're gonna talk about all things relationship, all things marriage. And I'm excited. I hope y'all excited. I'll talk to y'all soon.